It's just past 9 Tuesday morning, brought to you by the TSN team in just a moment. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel and give us a like. A massive attack on Kyiv. At this time, it is known that 2 people have been killed and at least 6 others have been injured. In the Dnipro district, a 9-story residential building in Rusanivka was hit. The fire engulfed floors 5 through 8. 2 people were killed and 5 more residents were injured. 17 people were rescued from the fire, including 3 children. The fire has now been extinguished. Residents of a high-rise in the Pavlohrad district also had to be evacuated. There, the strike hit between the 4th and 8th floors. In the Kyiv region, a child was injured as a result of the Russian attack. The most extensive destruction is in Bila Tserkva. An apartment building was damaged there. 46 people were evacuated from the basement, which residents had been using as a shelter. Another 4 private houses nearby were completely destroyed. A 14-year-old girl was injured. Tents are being set up to keep people warm. In Moscow, they state that a version of the peace plan that takes into account European and Ukrainian proposals does not suit them. Putin's aide, Yuri Ushakov, noted that the Americans had given the Russians a plan to review, but no official discussions about it have taken place. Accordingly, the document will undergo further revisions. The Ukrainian delegation returned from Geneva the day before. Over 2 days of negotiations between representatives of Ukraine, the US, and Europe, amendments were made to the so-called Tampa Peace Plan. The document, originally consisting of 28 points, was shortened. Some points of the plan were removed, while others were modified. President Zelensky stated that the document can now become workable. And Russia's response to the peace proposal will be judged by the number of drones and missiles launched at Ukraine.
Our team has already reported today on the new draft of steps, and this is indeed the right approach. Sensitive matters, sensitive issues I will discuss with President Trump. Ukraine will never be an obstacle to peace. This is our principle, a shared principle. And millions of Ukrainians are counting on and deserve a just peace.
In the morning, the Russians attacked Kyiv again. At least 4 people were killed in the Sviatoshinsky district. There, the rubble of a non-residential building is being cleared. Since the evening, an air attack on Odesa has been ongoing. 3 people were injured, including 2 young children. 2 districts of Odesa are partially without power. The previous evening, the Russians directed Shaheds at an energy facility. There are disruptions in heat supply. Some Odesa schools have switched to remote learning today. Patients from hospitals left without heating are planned to be transferred to other medical facilities. Due to the power outage, city electric transport has also partially stopped. That's why additional buses were put on tram and trolleybus routes this morning. During the night and early morning, the enemy launched 2 more waves of drones at Odesa. 3 people were killed and as many wounded in the Kherson region. The day before, as a result of artillery shelling of the regional center, Marina Huba, an associate professor at Kherson National Technical University, was killed. Due to attacks by enemy drones, 2 local residents in Bilozerka and Novovorontsovka suffered fatal injuries. And near Velika Oleksandrivka, a 17-year-old boy was seriously injured. He stepped on a Pelyaska mine. 11 wounded in the Dnipropetrovsk region. In Pavlohrad, as a result of a massive drone attack, 6 city residents were injured. An administrative building, an enterprise, and a private house were damaged. The occupiers shelled the Ternopil district with artillery and attacked with drones. 5 people were wounded. 9 apartment buildings, a college, a gas station, an administrative building, and infrastructure were damaged. The Sumy district is under numerous attacks by enemy drones. A 9-year-old child was injured as a result of a strike drone explosion in the village of Velika Chernekshina. The boy was hospitalized, and in Sumy, the Russians struck a fire truck with a drone as it arrived at the site of an enemy attack on critical infrastructure. When the rescuers tried to extinguish the fire, the enemy launched a second strike, hitting the vehicle, which burned out completely. The rescuers managed to take cover in a shelter and were not injured. Experts suggest that the Russians deliberately struck residential buildings in Ternopil so that rescuers would not have enough resources to tackle the fire at a nearby enterprise. As a result of the Russian attack in Ternopil, 33 people were killed. One 9-story building was completely destroyed, and in the others, 2 entrances burned down. Both buildings are located near the enterprise, which was also hit.
At this point, we are coming to a single conclusion. That the residential buildings on Stusa Street and 15 Kvitnia Street were not hit by accident, but were deliberately chosen by Russia as targets in order to prevent the possibility of extinguishing the fire at the industrial facility. Therefore, the strike was carried out on targets where many people were present.
In Poland, a Ukrainian national suspected of involvement in sabotage on the railway was detained. According to the investigation, the suspect allegedly assisted the perpetrators, in particular by driving one of them to the site of the sabotage. Warsaw is demanding the extradition of 2 other suspects from Belarus, where they fled. Meanwhile, the Polish prosecutor's office has released 4 Ukrainian citizens who were previously detained. It is known that they spent 48 hours in police custody, were interrogated, and then released. The sabotage took place on the Warsaw-Lublin railway line. An explosive device was detonated on the tracks and the overhead contact system was damaged. The Polish Minister of Defense stated that Russian special services were involved in the sabotage, acting through several Ukrainian citizens at their behest. You're watching TSN. To stay up to date with the latest news, subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications. Now, I'll continue with the news.
The Department of Education has already reported that the shooting was carried out by the father of a 3rd grader. He aimed at the father of another student, and this was preceded by a summons to the principal. The head of the school invited the parents of the students who had been having ongoing conflicts for a conversation. The last straw was a fight between the children.
Taking into account the fact that the boy who was beaten has been known on several occasions to be somewhat confrontational and argumentative in class, other concerned parents also came to the school as well.
But who could have known that a children's scuffle would escalate into an adult shooting? The parents of the students met on the street. They tried to find out why one of the students constantly breaks the rules. They were sorting it out far too heatedly.
At first it was between the mothers, but then one of the fathers stepped in and got involved in the situation. Later, the same father who had been in the office also came outside. And as a result of their conflict now between the 2 men, one of them, he had this weapon with him and he used it. 4 shots were fired.
The school resource officer stepped in to break up the fight between the men. Police and an ambulance arrived at the scene. They are still investigating where the weapon came from and whether he had a permit for it.
One man was inflicting bodily harm, and in response, the other man pulled out a traumatic weapon and fired. A criminal case has been initiated under Part 4 of Article 296 for hooliganism.
The penalty for this is up to 7 years behind bars. The school principal and the parents are not commenting at this time. The institution is still recovering from what happened. Meanwhile, doctors at the hospital are examining the 2 injured individuals. They are the parents of students. One of them has a gunshot wound.
The patient was immediately taken to the operating room where surgery was performed. At present, the patient has been diagnosed with a blind gunshot wound to the right hand, right thigh, and anterior abdominal wall.
None of the students or school staff were injured. Mariska Kuzik, Andriy Pupovich, Lviv, TSN 1+1.
A Ukrainian has won the Emperor's Cup. 21-year-old Danilo Yavusishin from Vinnytsia claimed victory at an elite sumo tournament in Japan. He moved to the land of the rising sun after the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. During this time, he built a professional career as a sumo wrestler and became the first Ukrainian to win the prestigious Emperor's Cup of Japan. He is also the first European in 8 years to achieve this. Special attention on social media was drawn to the size of the cup that was presented to the Ukrainian in the final. -12. Wind and limited visibility. At the top of Pipivan, it's real winter. Rescuers shared photos of the summit covered in snow and ice. And at the same time, they asked tourists to be as cautious as possible when heading into the mountains. Overall, in some western regions, even on the plains, snowdrifts that piled up over the weekend are still holding. In the region, wet snow mixed with rain may still fall over the next few days, so the roads will be slippery. During the day, temperatures will range from 2 degrees below zero to 8 degrees above. Most areas will finally be mostly dry. In the south, temperatures could reach up to 15 degrees Celsius.
A bit lower, let's say. It could even be around 20 there. On November 7th, there may be fluctuations again with a possible drop in temperatures in the west and north. But we are not expecting any sharp temperature changes for now. The current temperature readings in the western and northern regions are close to the seasonal average, while in the southern, central, and eastern regions, they are even somewhat above the climatic norm.
A rare phenomenon that hasn't been seen in thousands of years. In Ethiopia, a volcano that had been dormant for 10,000 years has awakened. The volcano spewed a column of ash up to 14 kilometers high. The eruption has since subsided, so for now there is no talk of evacuation or flight cancellations. But locals managed to capture vivid videos and are sharing them on social media. At this moment, that was the latest update. Don't miss our next TCH broadcast to stay informed about the events.